As Jared gives us the signal.
Oh.
All right. We will call the meeting to order at 6 o'clock. First item on the agenda is roll call.
Todd,
Here.
Abigail,
Here.
Al. Al Dasso, are you here?
No.
Oh, Kristen,
Here.
David,
Here.
Jack,
Here.
Catherine.
Here. All right, and next item is minutes, but before we do minutes, I'd like to welcome you, Catherine, to our Community Development Authority, and thank you for taking the seat. And would you mind if I spontaneously ask you to introduce yourself? Because you've got an amazing background and we're very happy to have you on
Sure.
our team.
Well, thank you for having me. And background is in community development, 12 plus years of community development, planning, GIS. I worked as community development consultant at Vierbecker, doing comprehensive plans, TID plans, all kinds of plans. Also working on grant administration and applications, and currently working with the DNR as a loan project manager for safe drinking water and clean water funds. So yeah, and I've been in Wanakee for several years now and happy to be on the board.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
We appreciate the time. Yeah. All right, next up, minutes. Do we have any corrections or additions to the minutes from August 13th? Seeing none, do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is public comment. We have nobody in the audience right now, but if there is anybody online that would like to make a public comment, you could raise your hand and we will unmute you and bring you into the meeting. If anyone, no one online. All right, we will move from public comment to business items. Item number 1 is monthly review and scoring of Wanakee Housing Betterment Fund applications.
We do not have any applications for this month.
All right, we will move on to number 2. Discuss and take action on eligible grant amounts for Wanakee Housing Betterment Fund.
Well, going on the fact that we don't have any applications, one of the things that we have talked about, and I'll just catch you up a little, we still have not sent out our mailer because when the property values changed this year, there was a lot of residents wanting to discuss that with the assessor, which led to extended dates. We don't have those new numbers yet. So we're hoping that no later than maybe the middle of November, Dane County will have everything updated, and then we'll be able to generate the list of addresses that fall within the criteria so that we can get that mailer out before the end of the year. That is the ultimate goal. But with that, the fact that we have had some inquiries on projects that were below the threshold, maybe some windows, some HVACs, things that don't necessarily cost $4,000, but that residents still can't afford to do. But the program doesn't allow them to apply because the project isn't valued high enough. So in order to use the funds that we have here for this and kind of open it up a little broader, we are asking the CDA to consider lowering the eligible project value to $2,000 so that the minimum grant that could be written would be $1,000. We think that might open up even if it's smaller projects, maybe more people able to apply and get some things done.
All right. Thank you for bringing the recommendation forward. Do we have any discussion on it? Todd, do you have any comments?
I think it's a good idea. Anything we can do to spend this money, we haven't been getting very many applicants. And so if we can find a way to spend this money, I think we should try to do that. So it sounds like a good idea.
Abby.
Agreed.
All right, David.
Yeah, I've always been a little concerned about the lack of applications.
Mhm.
And I don't know if there are other ways that we can go about publicizing that without embarrassing people, which is some concern, but I don't have a problem with lowering the threshold.
And I don't know if you saw it, but the Tribune did do a really nice article that went out about the program. And we did get a couple calls after that. one of the women was someone whose project was not $4,000. And what we've told people is, maybe find something a little extra. Maybe there's another window that doesn't quite need replacement, but will in the future add that in. We did not hear back from her after going over, and I had someone else contact about, they saw the article and they had already done a project. But our program only allows projects that have not been completed. So obviously no application there either. So it did generate some, and we're really hopeful that that direct mailer to the homes will generate more applications.
Thank you, David. Jack?
And just to remind me, the matching on this is 50/50.
50/50. And how it's ran now is instead of the applicant having to pay it all and then get reimbursed, they have to pay half and then we pay the other half directly to the contractor. Because then people aren't having to take out large loans from 401ks or their HELOCs to then pay those back. They're just paying their 50. So they're working with their contractor up front.
I have no problem.
Catherine?
I have no problem. I do want to look into the betterment fund a little bit more and see because I'm new to this. I don't know what's all allowed, and looking at what we are allowing and what the criteria is to apply and things like that. But it looks like this would potentially get more applicants. So
Yeah, Catherine, we can send you the
Yeah.
program information so you can
Yeah.
get up to date on that. Sorry about that.
Can I ask one other?
Yeah.
How much money do we have in the fund, and how much are we worried about any kind of deadlines on spending that money?
So we're actually going to talk about how much is in the fund in a little bit, but in terms of deadlines, I don't think there's a deadline to spend the money. So obviously we don't want that money just sitting there not being used, and that's these other discussions we'll be talking about other uses. But yeah, we want to get the money out the door. So anyway, we can continue to tweak this program to make it more effective and used in the public is definitely what we should focus on.
Sounds good.
I remember when we first started talking about it, we thought we'd have to pace ourselves on it. Yeah, and we just have had fewer applicants than
Right.
than
That's
needed.
too bad.
Yeah, it is. Fingers crossed that it changes. So for the, a question for the $2,000 limit, is there a rationale maybe for going down to 1,000? So it would be 500, 500? It's for some,
I don't see
prepared-
why not.
I don't see aside from I don't do a lot of home projects to know if there are other home projects and that low of a dollar value really. But I
It
don't
could be
see why not.
painting or something,
Yeah, or, like a storm door replacement or we just had some shingles repaired, didn't need a replacement. It was less than $1,000. So, yeah.
I think that is a CDA
All right.
decision.
All right, thoughts?
I think that's a good alternative to go down to $500. Just anything to spark some applications.
All right. So $1,000, 500 match. All right.
Does it really impact the value of the home?
Yeah.
I mean,
That's
Mhm.
what we're doing with this program is impacting value.
Yeah.
And if you paint a room, a gallon
Yeah.
of paint is like, $50, how many, maybe the door, the screen door, even a screen door, replacement, $250.
Yeah.
And I think the other problem you get is administration.
Mhm.
Now you're getting all of these grants coming in or requests for grants. Somebody's got to review them and then somebody's got to administer them. Do we have the administrative staff to?
We haven't had that problem.
Yeah.
No, the lower you
Yeah,
bring this
yeah.
down, the more people,
Yeah.
and then you got more review. And I agree with David, we want to improve the value of the homes.
So you guys more comfortable with 2,000?
Yeah.
Yeah. Try it for 2,000 for a while and see what we get maybe.
The beauty of this is we can always come back to the table and continue to tweak.
All right.
This is as simple as a one number change. so.
It is. All right. So do we have a motion?
So moved.
All right. Do we have a second?
I'll say.
All right. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda then, my agenda again, is discuss and take action on TID 5 closure or extension.
All right.
To you, Lauren.
So we have our next TID that's ready to be closed. It's going to be finishing up all its obligations, and so we're required to close it. So what we've been doing with each TID is using the affordable housing extension to basically collect one more year of increment and put it into this affordable housing fund that we're talking about. So if we would like to do that with TID 5, we could generate approximately $700,000 to be put in the affordable housing fund. And so what we're looking for today is if we'd like to move forward with that, we'd have you make a recommendation to village board, and then that we would take this to village board for final action.
All right. So comments on the closure or extension of TID 5. Would anybody like to start?
I guess I'll just start with, how else could we generate $700,000? There isn't a lot of options. So if this is one way to, generate funds for affordable housing, it sounds good to me.
All right. Thanks, Todd. Abby.
Yeah, and I think with some of this new programs we're talking about, like expanding, that we're going to talk about later, I think that it's worth having some extra.
All right, excellent. David.
I guess I'm in that position of wanting to know where we sit currently, It doesn't look very good if we're sitting on, $500,000 and not having anything happening, and yet, here we're asking for another, for permission to take another 700. So it's, it'd be nice to know.
Yep, so it's in the packet, the total amount that's in the affordable housing fund. So this 700,000 would put us at 1.5 million in the fund. So we're currently sitting at 865,000.
And we have some projects on the agenda tonight
Correct.
that would use the money. I don't think it would sit there. So, we don't have plans for it to sit there. And we can talk about that. Well, we will definitely talk about that tonight. Jack.
Well, I think, when you look at 1.5 million, you gotta have a portfolio of projects. And I think one of the things you gotta look at is, one of the things we're gonna talk about is down payment support. Is there some rent support that we could potentially, and I think the other thing, I'm for extending it for one more year. But I think as we talk about these other programs, are there other partners that we could potentially partner with, like the federal home credit or the Dane County Fund, so that we can actually make an impact. Because, the types of dollars we're talking about don't seem like we can necessarily make an impact to crack this. So I'm supportive of extending one more year to bring that up to 1.5 million.
And Catherine.
I am definitely in support of it, and just thinking about the regional housing study that was done in the last few years, but also knowing that we're going through a comprehensive plan. And I know we probably don't have the data back, but I'm a data nerd. So I'm going to ask, do we know when we might get like the housing data from them, from the consultant? And do we have any like info from them from the survey results, if housing was even a topic and what type? And again, I know we probably don't have it, but do we have maybe a timeline?
Yeah, so a couple answers to that. One being the existing conditions report will be coming in November, and it does have quite a bit of data on that. I will also add that Kristen was involved in a housing study that was done on Wanakee, which has lots of great information. I had one other thought, but now I'm forgetting what it was. Oh, the comments from the comp plan. I mean, I was surprised how overwhelming the amount of comments of mix of housing, more affordable housing. That was definitely a theme that I saw in the open houses, in the survey results. There is definitely interest in the community to see, more housing at different types of prices.
Thank you.
Yeah, so for the past probably year and a half, as we've been anticipating this TID closing and then in 2029, the Kilkenny TID closing and extending both of those, we've been looking into different programs. We've had the Madison Area Community Land Trust and Check Built come talk to us about land trusts. We talked to Eagle County, Colorado. You remember that? Can think of what it's like to have to try to live in Vail. If you can't afford a ski chalet, and how they've really used that. I mean, it was like amazing. Yeah, 600,000 is affordable in their community. But how, people in those communities struggle. So I think we've got some great ideas. 2 of them are on the agenda tonight. So it's exciting that we have this opportunity to extend it, but I agree, we have to have concrete plans. Otherwise, we really can't justify taking the dollars. So with that, do we have any more discussion on extending the TID? Or anything we'd like to contemplate before we decide which way we'll go? No? Right, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we extend TID 5 for another year.
I'll second.
All right, any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item up then is discuss the potential down payment assistance program. And to you, Lauren.
All right. So as it was foreshadowed, we have 2 kind of programs that we want to talk about today. The first one being down payment assistance program. So I tried my best to round up some good examples to kind of help us talk through what a program in Wanakee might look like. Really there's a menu of different options for kind of putting together a program. And so it's really just kind of selecting, all the different, facets. So as Kristen alluded to, Eagle County was one that I did take a look at and is a good model for this. Waukesha County is another one. And then City of Madison. And I included links if you want to go in and look more deeply. I won't go through each one of them, but I did, kind of highlight them so that we could have a good discussion on kind of what we're looking for. And I think also it's important to think through like who is the target demographic of this program too, because they're set up differently to kind of serve different purposes. Some of them seem more like they are trying to draw in people into their community. Others seem to really be setting out to serve the community that already lives there and make it affordable to get into home ownership. And then, I tried to kind of put together a potential program, obviously much more discussion needed. And I kind of tried to throw together a quick cash flow of what that might look like. I think the big thing to point out with that is you're going to run out of money eventually if you're giving out, loans on a regular basis because there's just not enough cash flow to keep it up. And another thing that Kylie and I were talking about is another model is that instead of, a regular payment to the loan, it gets paid off when they sell their home, whatever that happens. Obviously, that's not going to provide cash flow into our loan program, but it's kind of a nice way to get them into their first home, have that kind of down payment portion taken off their back in the beginning. And then once they've built equity and they can move up and, get something a little bit more expensive or move on in their life, they can pay that loan back. So I'll stop there and maybe we can just open it up for some dialogue on what people like about different programs, and I'm happy to answer questions.
All right, so let's start the dialogues with what we like. Let's also comment a little bit maybe on who we envision this program helping. Because first time homeowners for sure, but oftentimes we'll see that there are homeowners, if they've been out of home ownership for 5 years or more, then they become eligible again. So it might not be their first home, it might be their, technically their second home, but they've not been homeowners for a while. So thoughts on that? And Catherine, why don't we start with you?
Yes, so a couple of things that when I first started looking at this, it's right, like who are we serving with this? And again, I apologize, I go back to the data and looking at what is the AMI, and AMI usually is countywide, but looking at Wanakee specifically, and then looking at the average home price in Wanakee, and someone making 80%, would they even be able to afford a house with even just 20,000? So it's also thinking of that missing middle or the more affordable, should we be looking at that 80 to 20% and maybe a tiered assistance or something like that? Sorry, again, this is where my data and numbers go. I do like it, and I think it's a great start. There's a lot of other programs that has helped us to think through this. So that's where I'm at right now, thinking of, again, who are we serving? And I think we need a broader range besides just 80%. Thinking that 80 to 120% might be more helpful in looking at those numbers too.
And we should probably I don't know that we're going to stand up a program today.
Yeah.
There's a lot of details in it, but
Right,
maybe,
yeah.
maybe for our next meeting, could we pull the AMI and the both the assessed value of homes, and I wonder if we can get the current sales data.
Absolutely. I know our Housing Betterment Fund has the AMI tables. We could probably pull that up pretty quickly, but yes, we can put that together.
All right, thanks.
My question would have to do with eligibility of people to get mortgage loans. When you put a number in front of a lender and they want to know what you've got, is the fact that they have another loan going to impact people's ability to get the mortgage anyway? I mean, that when the lender says, you got a secondary mortgage here, and that's right out of the chute. And I'm not a banker and I don't have a mortgage anymore, so that's I'm not in that market, so I don't know the answer to that.
I think that's a really good consideration, and maybe that helps us lean towards maybe the back end more of a proposal where they wouldn't have to pay it off until they sell, or maybe after they gain some kind of value in the home, some equity value, that's when they would start making payments instead of immediately.
Yeah.
I don't know if that would help the bank reconsider that or not, but it could make it a little bit more plausible for the bank.
That seems like a really good question to ask whoever coordinates Madison's down payment assistance program.
I feel like several of us went to the Community Land Trust program, and some of the deals that they were kind of talking about through that program seemed very stacked with all these different programs. So I'm curious how bankers look at that and whether they see risk with that, and the additional loans on top of that, how that works.
You might have to find certain bankers. It sounds
Right.
like that's part of it, is
Yeah.
finding the bankers and then partnering with them. And I think if they knew that the community was involved in wanting to try to make these deals happen, that might help them as well.
Yeah, I think that's a key component, especially, launching a program like this, making all of the local banks aware of this program and working closely with them to kind of educate them about it. Hopefully that would help.
That might put us into a lot of the same CLT kind of discussions where we might have to educate the borrower about owning a house and stuff, and that might make the bank feel better if they are going through these HUD program trainings and stuff like that.
Well, the bank may direct them to us,
Mhm.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
saying you're on the margin here and I think here's a program that might help you. So we'd have to,
Mm,
you know, especially if you can involve the local bankers.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing too, the challenge I've got with this program, I'm not against, supporting it, but, the challenge I have is this the biggest impact we can have for housing? Because the numbers here, we're helping four people or four families per year. And does that really move the needle? We've got almost 90 building permits this year. And I'm sure there's a lot more properties that are turning in the community. So it doesn't seem like it would make a big impact with the amount of money that we have in the fund. So, that's the struggle that I have, with this particular program. And then who gets it? Is it first, yes, we've got to look through the targeted market and all that kind of stuff and look through the numbers. But is it first come, first serve? December, you're through the program,
Right.
right? Or January, you're through the program. So you don't have any more money left. And, this is gonna be done in 10 years. The way it's currently funded. The other thing that I'd like to do before we even approve something like this, is there, a partnership organization that we can, maybe looking at Dane County, is there 50% match? So now our 400 turns to 800, or our million turns to 2 million. And I think you found the Madison Land Trust or something has, some matching dollars. And, I think with all the programs that we talk about, what's going to make the biggest impact to the greater good of Waunakee? And I think this program, the way it's funded right now, is too small, or it's helping too few people.
Yeah, I think when you talk about the community land trust, I've been thinking a lot about that, and since our conference, and there'd be a lot of advantages of partnering with an established, because there's so much startup things to consider in the financing and the education and all the stuff, and how to partner. If we could bolt on to what Madison's already doing, that would put us way ahead. And I think, but we're kind of skipping ahead because I think that's later in our discussion, but that might be more impactful than, like you said, the down payment part. I don't know.
I think it would be helpful if we talk more about who we're trying to target.
Mhm.
Because in my mind, and this is totally because I'm biased because of my age group, but I would say like the reason that I am passionate about this is because there's so many people my age, including people who are from Waunakee, that want to move back to Waunakee, that could afford a monthly mortgage payment but have no way to build up that money for the down payment.
Yeah.
And so that's what's holding them
Mhm.
out and keeping them renting in Madison mostly, Milwaukee, some of those other areas. And so yes, 90 building permits, but a lot of those, unless they're going into a Viridian home, a lot of them aren't. They're looking for those starter homes that are close to that 300, 350
Yeah.
range. So that's my personal opinion on who this would help most. And a lot that also was driven from when Steve Summers came in and talked
Yep.
about the school data and how young families with the young kids are not here. The dots that they were kind of connecting was because they can't afford it until their kids are older.
Yeah, it's that entry level home buyer is, and also we've also talked about people who work in the community but can't afford to live here or can't afford to buy here. To the Eagle County, Colorado program, I believe employment within Eagle County, Colorado was one of their criteria too. So to be in the workforce there was a requirement for qualifying for their down payment assistance program. And there are a couple of other programs around the state. Founders Point in Sheboygan is another one that employment within the county of Sheboygan there, because it's a countywide program, is a requirement for their down payment assistance in their home. So when we're talking about filling the school up with young families, when we're talking about, using this to bolster the workforce, for me, that's one of the prime target audiences that I would hope that we would serve.
I don't know if this is a discussion for after we talk about the other possibilities, but it would be good maybe for us to kind of come up with a vision. Maybe this is part of that vision, that we do this and community land trust or whatever, and what percentages of the money available would go to what. Because I don't think it'd have to be all or nothing, right? We wouldn't necessarily put all the money that we have available into the down payment assistance, but then maybe we would use that to buy property or something for the community land trust. So to me, it would be helpful to have like a vision from us to come up with, to kind of say, okay, here's kind of what we're thinking about. What percentage do we want to put towards this? What percentage do we want to put towards that? Because all of these things would be helpful to different people, different
Yeah.
groups, depending on who we're trying to target. But that would be part of our mission or vision, I guess.
I think that's a great idea. Really.
I think one of the things to that point, I think you gotta put all these programs on the board,
Right.
on the whiteboard.
Yep.
And say, okay, how can we impact, each one of these, and then come up with an impact? Because you're talking $1.5 million.
Right.
Mhm.
That's, when you're talking about what we're trying to do, that's
Not a lot of money.
that's not a lot of money.
No.
So, is it putting it towards a rent assistant program if there's living in Wanakee? And we don't have those $350,000, $400,000 homes,
Right.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
we can have we can say, okay, we want to help these young families with these workforce starter homes, but we don't have the inventory.
Right.
So we're putting a program together that we're not going to be able to use because they may, depending upon the criteria, nobody can go after that money.
Right.
So, do we need a strategy? What's first? Do we work with the developer to say, okay, we'll maybe underwrite the fees for a development, but if we do that, then, this is what we need
Right.
as a community. And then we build that inventory, now all of these things lay on top of that early program that we set up.
It's almost like, if we build it, they will come. But part of the vision is like, okay, so we have these ideas, and the 1.5 is not going to cut it long term. But if we decide on what our vision is going to be, and then we start to look at developers or talk to people that might have thoughts about giving property away as part of their inheritance or life after whatever. But if we show them our vision or tell them why this is a good idea, it's one of the things in the community land trust thing that we learned about, is that you could make the case for people who want to be philanthropists, that this might be a good way to go. But I think, so coming up with a vision and saying all these different things, and then going to people that might have the money to help us with that, would at least be part of the plan.
I think one thing too that we learned, and I'm skipping ahead a little bit, the Madison Area Community Land Trust, Madison area,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Has an obligation to spend a certain portion of its budget outside of the borders of the city of Madison. And they were very interested that we're talking about a community land trust. So maybe it's both and, maybe a community land trust and a down payment assistance program that maybe can pair together.
Right.
Because, yeah, we do need those.
I
Need
think from
help.
a committee standpoint or a board standpoint, to your point, we need a vision. And,
Yeah.
you know, what's the need to make the vision work?
Right.
You know, we can say, okay, we want this land trust, and then we start buying, 10 acres of land. Because again, we don't have a lot of money.
Right. Right.
You know, so, how do we make the overall program successful?
Right.
So we don't run into, we can't find people that wanna spend $1,000.
Yeah, and yeah, so I don't want to jump ahead of the discussion, but I think there are ways that community land trusts have brought people, other partners in, but to me, that says, okay, we're going to commit to doing this. And then once we do that, then we start looking for funding, we look for donations, we look for other ways to do that, but we put that into our vision. Okay, this is what we decided we want to do. This is how we're going to do that. And then these are the people, the audience that we're trying to attract. This is the, so we got to have a lot of things figured out as part of that vision statement.
Would you say that the CDA needs a comprehensive plan?
Yeah.
Yeah, to your point, we just need numbers. We
Yeah.
need numbers.
Too concise.
Right, because I haven't looked at it recently, but I would say your probably average house is in the 600,000s. And
Just
that,
below.
just below, right? And a house selling is easily 425,000. There's no 300,000. In like the last 2 years, it just jumped, right? It's a lot.
Yes, you understand the struggle of the generation. I feel seen.
We do. Yeah.
So I think from our standpoint, we gotta figure out, if we're gonna bring these young people, let's say, we gave $20,000 to, somebody that's buying a $500,000 home. They probably have maybe one kid,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's 4
Have
kids to our school
500,000,
district,
no kids,
Yeah.
yeah.
And we need 50 kids,
Yeah. Yeah.
to
Break even.
turn the ship around.
Yes.
50 to 70 kids to
Yeah.
turn the ship around. So, my concern with spending this money here is, does it really help the growth of the community? Because, people are moving here because of the school district, right? We do have industry, and we've got some industry that is growing, but a lot of our people are living and working in Middleton and Madison, right?
Yep.
So if we want to keep the ship alive, we've got to help. How do we put some development in so that all of these other programs feed into it and work?
I
agree.
think they'll be probably hand in hand. So I'm wondering just for this item on the agenda, for the down payment assistance program, maybe we talk a little bit about what a more fleshed out program might look like. Thinking that we're probably going to launch it at the same time we launch a community land trust if we choose to do it, but just a little bit more data behind the decision. And along with that, then it's sounding like our November meeting, we might want to do a data review. Kind of where do we stand on housing? What do incomes look like? Kind of all of that. So next month's meeting, data review, a kind of more fleshed out detail on what a down payment assistance program could look like. I assume we're not ready to act on that today.
No.
Right. So then item number, next, we go on to the next item.
Well, I was gonna say maybe for November, we can kind of springboard off of what Todd's saying too, is be like, let's have like a vision,
Yeah,
like a little more concrete so that we can.
yeah.
I would also, I was intrigued when I
Mhm.
talked to Michael Zimmerman today. Cause
Yeah.
they've got a lot of the stuff figured out. They've got things, they've partnered with different organizations to enhance the dollars that they've got. They've got their program is like a $10.5 million program. So they've got a lot of money, but I think talking with them, because they've been doing this for a long time, you know, could help us bring ideas. And they're in Dane County.
Well, so should November then be data and learning? Maybe if we
During-
dedicate November and if we need to also December to kind of learning. We did that, you know, probably 2 years ago when we were just starting the Wanakee Housing Betterment Fund. We had a lot of people come talk to us
Yeah.
about it. Maybe a kind of a revisit and update of what some of the programs they're doing. With that, would it make sense for Community Land Trust to bring in Deacon Boggs? Or I'm not sure if Olivia's still at the Land Trust or if she's moved on to her national job yet. But to talk a little bit more about kind of concretely, what does it look like? What would it look like if we partnered? And then the thing that I seized on when we talked with them at the Land Trust conference is the dollars that have to be spent outside of Madison. So what does that look like? How much of it, can we have it all? So you give it all to us. So
I'll just share. I mean, yeah, I had several conversations with them and they seemed really interested in Wanakee
yeah.
because I think that would look great for them too, to have a
absolutely.
partner like us.
Yeah.
And actually Kylie and I have a meeting tomorrow with Olivia, so we can start
Fantastic.
that conversation and then, yeah, maybe bring them to the next meeting.
Yeah, that'd be fabulous.
The other piece of data, to Abigail's point, is how much does an average Wanakee teacher make? How much does
Mhm.
a fire person make? How much, you know,
Yeah.
who is our target audience? Who are some of these professionals or Wanakee residents or
Mhm.
hope to be Wanakee residents do we want to attract with this program? So we can get some kind of ideas, like if they're making, you know, less than $100,000, you know, what do we need to give them as far as a down payment and stuff like that, or, you know, try to help us get closer to those numbers.
What does that, if we do Community Land Trust, what does that home need to be priced at?
Yeah, yes.
Mhm.
Cause that's almost the same question as, okay, how much of a down payment do we have to give them, right? It's like, yeah.
One and the same. Right.
Well, just, I don't want to harp on this, but, Michael did send me his, information. And, they've got a rental, rehabilitation program where they're working with, you know, some of the, they've got a workforce housing initiative, resource for land banking and acquisition, down payment assistance. They've got their program is 2.5 million. Emergency housing fund for seniors, you know,
Mhm.
helping them. And that kind of falls into, you know, what we're doing with, our program. And, you know, they are working with those public-private partnerships. And I think, you know, if we can glean some of that, I'll send this email to you, Lauren, but, you know, these guys, you know, are pretty aggressive.
What my first question for him would be, how did they fund it all? I'm gonna guess TID extensions, of course,
TID
but then
extensions.
also 10 million, is it exclusively TID extension?
A lot of
Or
it's,
is there some philanthropy in there too?
no, I think a lot of this is, TID extensions. They had a
Extensions.
couple, TIDs that, closed.
Okay.
But I think, and I could be wrong, but I think, they had, you know, they had some multifamilies that were in TIDs.
Okay.
And, you know, one of the things that they used, and I don't know if those multifamilies up here are in TIDs or,
I don't think they
they're outside.
Yeah.
But they use some of that, that TID money, you know, when they had a housing TID, for multifamilies to offset, some of the rents. And then they had both market and, workforce, you know, within the same building. So I think, you know, there's a lot of stuff out there. You know, again, it comes back to what is our vision? And then everything else is gonna fall into place. But without that basic information, you know, we're flying blind. I think, I don't know.
I agree. All right. All right, and then item number 5, discuss potential community land trusts. So how do we even summarize what we learned? We were there, yeah. So,
Complicated.
yeah, yeah, exactly. The 4 of us and then Al were at the Community Land Trust Conference for 3 days. And it was like drinking from a fire hose in the best possible way. It was very good. But, so for the discussion here, we have had the Madison Area Community Land Trust come and present to us. Like I mentioned, we also had Check Built, who's now fully up and running. We can bring those back. I'm sure Olivia will be happy to come and chat with us again, or Deacon, whoever's gonna be taking the reins next there. What thoughts do we have on land trusts?
I have a few thoughts. At first, when I was talking to Olivia during one of her presentations, it was like, oh, it'd be cool to just be able to bolt on to what Madison Area Land Trust is doing. And then I thought, well, but their numbers are different as far as the income levels and the housing levels are different. And so I thought, well, maybe we can't because they have restrictions. But then I thought about all the complications of doing our own would be, that would take a long time and it'd be expensive probably to try to get started. So then I went back to, okay, could they adjust
Mhm.
like their numbers for when they say Madison area, but we're kind of outside of Madison. So our numbers, the cost of housing and stuff would differ. Would they be able to adjust it so that we could make it work in Wanakee as being a part of that organization? So that was one of my first thoughts. It's like, I don't know that we really have enough inertia to start our own, but it's a really, really good idea if we could be a part of one.
I agree. The hurdle, because we started on our own, right? We have to have staff, we have to, which requires money, which we
Yeah.
can be dedicated to housing.
Yeah.
And whatnot. At the same time, we have different requirements than they do, or different kind of a different population that we're trying to serve. So I'm wondering,
Yeah.
if they could adjust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Question I've got, does WIDA have those services?
Mm.
Where,
Yeah.
you gotta, do all the documentation and audits and things like that. Does WIDA provide that service so that, we don't have to build up our staff? We can kind of hitchhike off of, WIDA.
I don't think they do the day-to-day management that a community land trust does. Not that a community land trust necessarily does day-to-day management, but they do some homeowner support. They do some education along with the program to make sure that when somebody qualifies and purchases a home through the land trust, that they're a successful homeowner. And to the best of my knowledge, WIDA doesn't have any of those programs. That said, I will be having lunch with somebody from WIDA on Tuesday, and I will ask. So,
Yeah, because, again, it comes down to partnerships.
Yeah.
What are these partnerships where we're not creating
Scratch.
from scratch,
Yeah.
because we've got 2 people working on this.
there's things. We have full-time.
And it may not. Is this your full-time job?
Just housing, all the time.
So I think we have to, kind of identify those partners that we can tap into
Yeah.
so that, again, it's a successful outcome.
Well, at the conference, there was a lot of people actually from Wanakee, a banker at Associate, right?
Yes, Sarah. Yeah.
That's on one of our other boards
Yeah.
in Wanakee, and then there's some other people, I'm trying to remember, but so it seems like there's a lot of people that are familiar with the concept of the land trust that we could tap into in Wanakee, but it truly is a village to create one of these land trusts, and it just seemed like if we could partner more with somebody that's doing it and doing it successfully, that would make more sense.
I agree.
Could I-
We, just
came out
kind of
loud.
thinking out of the box, could we set up a consortium like Windsor and Wanakee and Middleton, because we're all, and maybe DeForest, because we're all outside of Madison. and
Yeah.
Madison is its own animal.
Yeah.
Is there a way that, we can, set up a consortium with these other people?
I mean, I think that's what the Madison Area Community Land Trust is. It's that
Is it?
mechanism. Yeah, yeah. They do a lot of work in Madison, but like I said, they've got this rather sizable pot of money that they have to spend outside. of Madison, and
Get
I know they were
$1 million.
talking to Stoughton, so we need to bring beat Stoughton to the punch.
Yeah.
So, but they were very much interested in helping and supporting, and I think funneling some of that our way. What were your thoughts? 'Cause you guys were,
Well, I was just actually should we do like just a very quick summary of what CLTs are for those who weren't able to go to the conference and might not fully know? Who feels like they would be good at that?
well, Al is, yeah. Yeah, yeah,
Did Al show up online?
yeah. Yeah, so are we also, do we all have kind of a basic familiar with the term, heard the term? Yeah, yeah. So therefore, those of you that are listening, and a land trust is essentially where the trust, which is typically a nonprofit organization, 503c corporation, owns the land. The house on top of it is owned by the homeowner. What that does is it reduces the cost of owning the home, of course, by the cost of the lot for that. There are different ways that that's administered. In some places, you own the house, but you pay the taxes on the land. In other places, the land trust pays the taxes on the land and the homeowner rents the land. There are different ways that that kind of financial relationship is set up. But the idea is that that once in a community land trust, not only is that initial purchaser getting a discount on the house because they don't own the land underneath it. But as the house ages and matures and goes on, there is typically a clause that limits the amount the house is able to increase each year, so that when the house is sold to the second owner, the second owner still gets a discount on the property. And the discount is probably not the right term to use, but pays for the house, not the land, and that house remains affordable or within the kind of range of affordability and perpetuity as a result of that arrangement. The money that, if there is an increase in the home above and beyond the 2 or 3%, sometimes that money is harvested then and put back into the house. It's, furnaces are fixed up, roofs are replaced, things that, happen with kind of the normal turnover of a home. So it's probably not the most eloquent way to put it, but kind of how it works. So what am I missing?
No, I think that was a great summary. I think the conference really cemented for me how impactful this program is. And I think that in perpetuity is the biggest key point, because I can't think of another program where you can guarantee that it's going to continue to be affordable. Even some affordable housing projects, there's an affordability timeline, and then, they can go to market rate. And someone even I was talking to at the conference was saying, yeah, we've done a down payment program, but really the only thing that really moved the needle was the CLT. So, yeah, I left that feeling really excited about working on this. And I think it could be really impactful in Wanakee.
I agree.
I think some of the things that I liked about it is that you can build in that you want people that work in Wanakee, or you can build certain things into the contract to make it more part of whatever our mission is for the CLT. So I just asked ChatGPT to help me come up with like a mission statement, and one of them is, so our mission, or a mission of a joint thing with Madison area, would be like provides and preserves permanently affordable housing for low to moderate income individuals and families, especially those who teach, serve, and work in our community, ensuring that Wanakee residents or Wanakee remains a place where people who sustain it can also call it home. So something like that, where we're setting what our mission is, our focus of why we're doing this in the first place, kind of helps center the whole thing. And then when we talk to Madison, or we talk to other partners, this is what we're trying to accomplish, coming up with something like that.
I think that's great. That's really important. Yeah. So in December or November, we need you to lead that
Definitely.
discussion. Yeah.
Right.
I'm serious. You get to lead the discussion
Okay.
commission, because that's fabulous. Yeah. Yeah. Other thoughts, things to add?
Well, so the why it looks to me right away like we need a partner is like, besides, the trying to do the loan, there's the resale of it, there's the daily administration, which includes homeowner support and education, engagement and advocacy, the leasing monitoring, upkeep, handling of resales, capital improvements, development and acquiring homes. So there's just so much things going on. And if you have a partner that's already done this and been through this and has that expertise, I think we're saving ourselves quite a bit.
Yeah. We can get right to the business of putting people in homes.
Yes. Because to me, like, if we're trying to do this within whatever time period, like a year and a half, that's a short time to try to build all of that up if we don't have a partner to work with.
Other thoughts? No? This might be one way that we could really stretch the dollars too. Yeah.
I think it would be the way to stretch the dollars. And if you look at the TIDs, we've got some go on closing this year, 29, 30. We've got a lot of TIDs that are going to be closing in the next 5 years, which could potentially, build that reserve up so that when you launch the program, you've got at least some foresight as to where the money's coming from. Will we have more TIDs? Who knows? And even if we do have more TIDs, that's 20 years out. So no matter what, so we have to capitalize on the TIDs that we've got today that are closing.
Yeah.
In the short term.
We really do have a relatively short window of these, the TIDs that are maturing and
Yeah,
closing.
it's between now and 32.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
then,
the next few years.
they may close before that.
Yeah. Yep. And then we'll have a long stretch.
I do think that TID thing is probably our biggest thing, but a lot of these successful CLTs do get philanthropy dollars. And so trying to come up with a case, and there was a book the woman wrote, Making the Case.
Yeah.
I got that book from her because they gave away a bunch of them. So I think we could try to have, parallel things going on, definitely the TID dollars, but also trying to come up with a really good business case for philanthropy dollars as well, to try to add to that fund.
I agree.
Because I think, to your point originally, we need 50 kids in the Wanakee School District, not 4 or 5. So if we want to get to that, we're going to have to get bigger dollars, and it's not going to just come from TIDs to get that number. So we're going to have to find more creative ways to stretch the dollars and to build the dollars.
And I think, when you start talking about philanthropy.
Yeah.
Is it foundational?
Yeah.
We partner with maybe Madison. We have an Acorn Fund in the Madison Foundation that's earmarked for Wanakee. And you can, you could potentially do something or use the Wanakee Foundation, energize those guys, to build. Because I think there could be some dollars in this community that we could potentially tap in, but you gotta have a good story.
Making the case to some of our developer friends that have gotten rich in Wanakee would be another way to go, is like, have them try to help us build that fund as well.
Yeah, give back.
Yep.
Give back to the things they've built. Yeah. I like this committee.
Me
Because it's so hopeful. We've got some resources now. Yeah, all right. Other comments on so next meeting, learning data, update on housing, AMI, all of those things. Do we want to talk to the land trust then? Do we want to save them till December? What do we want? Do we want to talk vision first and then bring the Madison area land trust into a conversation? Okay,
I think that would be better.
okay, good. All right,
Can we
just-
actually bring in a whiteboard to talk about?
you bet. Should we meet, well, for our next meeting, do you want to meet at the library? We sit around a table and they've got a whiteboard there? All right, I'll bring in food. So we'll do pizza or something. So that's not good.
Is it okay if we don't live stream that one? Okay.
Yeah, we can still tape it if we want to, but live streaming from the library is kind
Yeah.
of hard.
Okay, so for November, data review, mission statement. Did you want a speaker of some, I know Jack was talking about the Fitchburg. Did you want someone like from Fitchburg to come speak or mostly focus on?
Should we save Fitchburg for December too? Would that be
Well, I
all
think one of the things we want to do is get the vision out there.
Yeah.
And kind of set the roadmap.
Mhm.
Right.
And with that data, I think you can sit down and it's probably going to be very clear that, you
Right,
know, this is where we have to start.
Yep.
And then all these other programs are gonna fall into it.
right.
And, you know, bringing them in December, you know,
Be
is
good.
probably better than, you know, next time.
Mhm.
Got it.
A good launch into the new year.
It will, yeah, it will. All right, those are our agenda items. It was a long agenda and an efficient meeting. So conclusion of the meeting is we're gonna learn more so we can act responsibly. All right,
Never stop learning.
never stop learning, right? All right, that is the end of our agenda then. Do we have one final motion?
Move to adjourn.
I second the motion.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right, thank you all.